What's going on?
Welcome back. Another week. We've been slacking a little bit, but
Hey, life been lifing, but we're here now, and that's what matters.
How you been, Pat?
Pretty tired. And it was 45 degrees this morning. And I felt it in every part of my being, trying to get out of bed, trying to peel myself out of bed. But I'm here. I'm alive. I'm ready to go. So, how you been?
Chilling. Be happy because my parents told me it was a high of 18 degrees this week. So 45 ain't sounding too bad. But we've been traveling a little bit. So went up to San Jose for a course. Other than that, just been top chilling.
What was the course over?
Fascial manipulation. So it was 3 days, 10 hours straight each day of getting your body just wrecked. Of 3 days. So
yeah.
I feel like I'm still recovering.
Okay. What was the biggest takeaway over the weekend from the course?
Biggest takeaway. First off, I got to say shout out to the new age chiros, because I feel like we have a bad reputation or bad thought of chiros, and all the chiros coming out of school now, they're actually pretty well versed in a lot of different things. Whereas like they make fun of the old school chiros if you go on like TikTok and they're doing like the random adjustments. But the newer age chiros, I give it to them. They were on top of it.
Were the chiros at the same course?
Yeah. So it was a bunch of, I think there was maybe one or two that was actually practicing, and the rest of them were in their final, they called it like final quarter. So they went to, what's the school up there? Whatever the school is.
Was it Palmer?
Palmer. Okay. So they went to Palmer. They were in their final quarter, but they were good. But also, oldest injury is always the key to go to. So that's what I learned.
In what sense? Like,
so if someone has a pain, ask them every single injury that they have, and then really dig to find the oldest one, because something that's not really, I think they wouldn't think is prevalent, is like that's your go-to situation. So it was like a sprained ankle back when they were like 25, and now all of a sudden they're having like back pain when they're 50, and they never address the ankle injury. It's like, check that one out first. Sometimes that could be the key to their back pain. So like that was some cool stuff, or at least part of the
that's
the
pretty
issue.
Dope. Just thinking and just like someone like me, I've had so many injuries, and it's hard for me to remember because it's just like it's a trauma after trauma, and then it just kind of just blends together.
I'll say, but your situation, I felt like just throw something out the wall and see what sticks. You had, I treated Pat and this man. First off, so they give you a couple ways of looking at something. One, if something just feels tight. Two is if something feels like it makes them jump off the table. Or three, it's like, oh, that's the referral source of my pain. Yours took me probably about 5 minutes before I could even make it hurt. I was like, that shows me there was some trauma.
Yeah, just like the history of playing basketball and football is like, I've been hurt so many times, and it's just whatever at this point.
But I gotta say, I was flinching off the table when I had that, and you were calm, cool, and collected for the whole thing. You're just like, oh, that part sucks.
No, let me tell you, it hurt like a ridiculous amount. But I was like, all right, just breathe through it and maybe dissociate a little bit, like take my mind to a happy place, and just like ride the wave.
Yeah, but so this week, what are we talking about?
I think we're going to go into student involvement.
Student involvement.
Yeah, as throughout PT school, and just what that looks like, why, and then why students don't try to get involved in more stuff.
Okay. So talking, you were pretty involved in terms of every single thing we did in terms of student government, APTA, so American Physical Therapy Association.
Yeah. Let me just do like a quick recap because I have to think about it myself. So first year of PT school, I did the school board. So I was the Marquette chair. So me and Abby Wilson, our job was to come up with fundraisers to raise money for the Marquette Challenge. Then on top of that, the graduate student affairs PT liaison. So basically just going to those meetings. So the Sacred Heart Graduate Student Affairs would put on programs and just ask, what does the PT program need? And that was just pretty easy, just going to the meetings and just like, hey, this is some thoughts that we could appreciate, like from the PT side. Yeah, we would like for the grad, best example, the grad student appreciation week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we had like therapy dogs and coffee in the morning. Yeah.
Free food.
Yeah. And so just things like that, just like trying to be that middle ground. Just like, oh, what are some things that you like?
Got you.
Or how many people are planning on going to conferences and stuff like that, so we can try to get reimbursed for that.
That part, I like that part.
So I was that middle point saying, oh, we have this many people going to these conferences and this is how much it's going to cost. And so if we can get reimbursed for, and so it's in collaboration with all the other grad programs.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, we got those reimbursements after CSM, like that, the senior week, or not senior week, grad week. But yeah, so
yeah, and that was and then at the end of first year, I participated on the project committee for, I believe it was NSC, so the National Student Conclave.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't remember how you even, I don't know how you even remember any of these things, because I felt like every week it was like Manny would say, oh, Patrick Suiji got another award for something. I was like, how many awards did he get?
Yeah. But most, it was like just being nominated for the most part. Like I was just like throwing my head into the hat for just to do more things. It just started, Manny was one of the big reasons, like to push me in that direction. I was like, hey, this is going on and these other things are going on. I honestly would have no idea that were happening. But for me, I was just like so kind of burnt out just studying all the time. I was like, all right, I need to fill my time with other things. So that process of just staying busy kind of helped me schedule my time a little bit more. So to battle burnout, instead of taking a break, I just like, all right, let me just front load with more stuff. And
my break was put on football and call it a day. Yeah.
and I did that too. So yeah, like my schedule during the
all of PT school.
Yeah, really was like, all right, go to the gym. No, not go to. Later, I started going to the gym, but it was be at the library. So class all day till like 5 or 6, and then be at the library till 11.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. Don't touch a book on, don't touch anything on Saturday. I'm watching football, watching sports. I'm chilling. And then Sunday, go to work, then go like teach at Elliptica, and then go right back to the ground, right back to the library, get ready for this next week.
Group projects.
Yeah. And then when I started getting more involved, it's like, all right, they have monthly meetings for each one. So I was like, just put in my calendar, all right, on this day, after class, you're going to this meeting instead of going to the library. And so then it turns out like 3 days out the month, I would have just other things to do. Then on top of that, just kind of, if it was the clothing drive, the movement clothing drive that we put on every winter, I would just, every week I had like a list for me to do. Get in contact with the person at the Merton House. All right, if once they respond, then it's probably like a week or 2 weeks later, like go have that meeting, go there, show them my vision and how it's gonna, what I need from them.
Jeez.
So it's like one thing a week. It wasn't like every week there was something that had to be done. It was like, all right, this week you have something, then the next week you have something, then during the week. So I was like, all right, let me just jot what I want to do.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're talking to a student coming in, what would you say are like your best benefits that you got out of being involved? And is there anything that you would change? about being involved?
I think, well, no, in the sense of would I change anything about being involved? No. Um, because it allowed me to understand what different roles I can play, and then what I should go for, what I'm good at, and then what I'm not so good at. And so, for a perfect example, second year, I was the core ambassador for the state of Connecticut, for the APTA core ambassador, which means like I was the liaison from the National APTA, American Physical Therapy Association, and all the schools in Connecticut. So that means I had to email and get in contact with every program. I think there's 6 programs in Connecticut, PT and PTA schools. So combined, there's 6. So email each school representative and one of their students as well.
Gee.
And then so whatever information comes, like monthly events, I pretty much just like forward it to everyone else. And that I was terrible at that.
I know. I remember that.
Terrible. Because it was like if anyone had questions, they were also about what's going on in APTA, they would email me as well. And so first of all, just trying to update the contact list and get in touch with everyone, it's terrible. Like no one responds.
Yeah.
And I have to be the person to be like, hey, emailing you again. Like,
following up on my last email.
Yeah, like I just want to get in touch and just have this open line of communication, and people don't care. And I'm not the one to try to force someone to like, yo, hey, look, I'm trying to help. Like, so then it just turned into me of I was supposed to check for emails every week just to make sure I'm not, or every couple of days just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And then so and it's a year-long commitment. So like the first month I was on top of it. I was emailing everyone, just making sure I was doing my due diligence. And then about after the second month, I was like, it like burned me out just to like email people and never have a response. And like it was more harmful than it was good.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Do you know the amount of times I heard you say, damn, I haven't checked my email in like a couple days now? I'm like, bro, is it your job to check your email?
Yeah, then it turned into a couple weeks. And then one time it went by, it was like a month. I was like, oh, let me get back to these people real quick. And I was like, yeah, this is not my strong suit.
So, I feel like that was what you did more on Sunday than actual your work that you needed to be doing for school.
Yeah, just catching up. But then I transitioned to work collaborating with the student special interest group with Dustin, Hannah Cook, and that group of individuals. And so we started just collaborating on stuff. So it's like so there's a set of goals that you're supposed to reach as a core ambassador. So talk to this many people, put on so many like get to the other events type of deal. And we just worked together. So the special interest group and myself just worked together. And so that was a great help. So then also I'm in my head, I'm already like, I am not a solo person. Like I need help to, like, I have ideas, the things that I want to do, but I need someone to help me with that process. And so that's what helped me learn that thing about myself. Because I was like, I had all these goals, all these expectations, and I just could not put that together.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel like it's a good trait to learn. Whereas like trial and error, it's like, well, shit, at least I learned in a controlled setting. Like, hey, I am not built to do all this shit by myself.
Yeah, and that's like the so I was like, I wouldn't change what I did, but looking back, I was like, like that is not for me. Like being in a solo position where I solely have to drive myself is just not it does not keep me motivated.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it now, because now you look at people who you want to be around, where it's like, now I know in PT school, like I did these jobs and now I got out of it. And it's like, all right, if I want to build my own brand, I know that I'm not the one that wants to go solo. Right. It's like, I need to make sure I got somebody else that has that same like drive that'll push me a little bit more. So I could set you up for success in your future.
Yeah. And it resonated with me when I started reading the book, Start With Why. Mm. And ultimately it's like, some people are visionary, so like they have this idea of what to happen, but they need that person to know how to do it. Mm. And typically it's never like the same people. Yeah. It's like, and I'm definitely like, all right, I have this vision, this is how I want to do it, but getting to like the minute details of how to make that happen kind of just goes over my head. Mm. And looking at those small details kind of puts me into like a paralysis. And so like I get stuck thinking about, all right, all the small things.
Yep, I feel that. So I think you say you brought up Start With Why. I feel like Who Moved My Cheese was the first book that came to my mind, where it was like, you have the two people who just don't want to do anything and are just comfortable, and you have one that like sees the vision, and the other one that's like, all right, forget it, I don't care, let's just go. So it's like, I feel like a mixture of the two of them, whereas like I'm the same, whereas like I can create these things that I want, but I'm like, shit, how do I start doing this? Or like, how do I keep it going once I've started? I think is my problem. So did you learn anything with that one through PT school? Because that'd be a good segue.
Which one?
If you learned like, all right, once I started this thing, how do I keep consistent with it? Were there any groups that you were a part of that helped that influence at all?
Then third year, I was on the APTA student board of directors and working with Teo and Gus. Mm. Like, so we were the nominating committee. So we have this board of about 10 people. Then the nominating committee was us three. So we worked together on everything. Mm. So we would just have weekly meetings. Shout out to Gus with the idea of having weekly meetings, because I appreciate it. Even if it was just an hour, we just touched base every week. And and so we would have like a list of things that we wanted to talk about, quickly kind of go through it. If it didn't need to be priorities first, we'll talk about it more if it was coming up. If not, we'll just check in and see if we, just to make sure we had a plan in place. Mm. And so that way it just made me feel comfortable that, all right, we're touching on all these topics and we're coming up with ideas. And then for the ones that are priority. So for example, we started the APTA student social, and it's just a way for students just to come and hang out for an hour. Mm. We'll have someone speak for like a special guest for like 30 minutes. And then after that, we're just like in breakout rooms or just one big room, just chatting with each other, just catching up, getting contacts. And so starting this idea, we would just, every week we will call and say, hey, do we have a plan for this? And we did it once a month. So it's, all right, we have a student social coming up in 3 weeks. Have we contacted anyone to be the guest? If not, all right, who's taking lead on this one? Mm. All right, send them an email, see what best times work for them. Once we hear from the special guest, we would send it to kind of our bosses, or so we had 2 liaisons from the APTA board, just so we can, or from the APTA, so we can, they had all the resources. So it's like, hey, we have a guest and we want to do this on this date. Can you help set this up? Mm. And so once we got confirmation of the guests, I was like, hey, now you have to send it to the liaison.
Sounds like a lot.
And so we're talking through this whole process of, all right, check. All right. And so that's for January. All right. Do you have some, Patrick, you can go ahead and get started on February. Do you have an idea? What guests do we want? You can go ahead and start this process. So as we're working through January, I'm already thinking about February, and it's very specific. So I was like, all right, find a guest, just send them an email if they'll be interested. If they're interested, ask them what date in February, preferably on a Sunday, and go from there.
I'm not gonna lie to you. As much as I hate to admit this sounded a lot like tutorial. Like all those times I used to like, damn, tutorial doesn't do anything, but I'm like, something like that. You got a plan. It's like, all right, what do we not know? What do we need? And it's like, all right, shit, you do this, you do that. And it's like, I felt like that set you up probably pretty well, more than you realized.
Yeah.
All right, damn, what's the problem? How do we fix the problem? What are the steps to get to the problem? Like, damn, I've applied that to my life so often without even noticing. I'm like, that actually really did help me.
Yeah. And even in it, because Gus is, he's one of those people who, like, he has so many ideas and wants to do so much. And a lot of the time I was just like the voice of real, like, all right, what's priority? What can we do in this short amount of time?
Yeah.
And what's the goal?
What's the main objective?
Yeah, let's wrap that one in first, and then worry about the rest after.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, it was like everything that I was involved with just helped me push me a little bit more. So
I was gonna say, so what's your advice for someone that wants to do or maybe get involved? They're not sure, because I know from my experience of PT school, for me, I was like, I worked. I know you worked also. And it was like, that was all I needed. It was just like working was a bit of a distraction for me, but I felt like most of my time was already taken up by school, and I didn't want more things to add on to it that would make me feel even more stressed. What's your suggestion, your advice? Because I know from my perspective, I'd be like, you really don't need to. But from what you're telling me, it sounds like you have some good things that came out of it.
It depends on what drives you, what motivates you, and also take a good look of what's your commitment level, because if you're busy and feeling stressed out with school, maybe there's small events that you can do, whereas at Sacred Heart University they have the drive, the movement, which is a clothing drive. And you could just help with that, in the sense of, like, I was the coordinator, so like I was constantly talking to everyone, but I needed help on 2 days sorting the clothes.
Right.
Either the weekend before or the day before, I would just sort the clothes into piles, and then the day of, and just standing there. So either you can help with both days, you can help with one day. And it's like, and the clothing drive lasted 2, maybe 3 hours. And so can you give up 3 hours on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Or can you give up hour or two sorting the clothes before? Not every involvement is going to have you months of planning and months of work. So yeah, start small. Like, if things going on at school that you can just ask, like, hey, is there anything I can help with? Or ask the board, because we did during Christmas time, we adopted a family, and so we just went shopping as a board for different toys and just wrapped it. So we had small events throughout the year, or throughout the few years that we were there. And most of the time, our class was too stressed out to do anything, but I understandably so. Okay, someone's like, hey, I want you to help with this. And I was like, all right, how much time is it gonna take? And then a lot of it times, it doesn't take much time. And also you get like, you feel like you're doing more than just studying. Like, you feel like part of the, like, and community involvement. You just feel a little bit better because you're not just in your books all the time. Or if you want to connect with other people across the country, like just building that network and a feeling of community. There's longer, like kind of intermediate, so like project committees for the APTA, they last about maybe 3 to 6 months, just depending. And then you'll have monthly meetings, or and then you can slowly work that way. So that takes up maybe one weekend.
Okay.
And throughout like each month.
Yeah. So I would say from my outside opinion, one, I give you props, because even after you graduated, you were still doing some stuff for for meetings and stuff, and that would have drove me insane. But I think it was cool that we could go to these conferences and you would know at least, hey, here's like 5-6 people that I met through doing these project committees. So it was like, all right, that's a good way of networking and making those connections. I felt like, I don't know if you took maybe more out of the seminars like CSM and all that stuff than maybe I did. I think I was like, I would go there, learn a couple things, but I was like, all right, this is a break from school. We get to go out, do something. Well, I was like, at least I knew you had people who was like, this is the person I've been working with for the past couple of months. Like, this is already a good connection. I felt like that kind of helped you also, because now we have people that we're talking to still, and like asking questions like Teo and Gus. So I feel like that's a good way of making connections, even just early on.
Yeah, and I think first of all, I did not get anything out of the seminars, just because, especially as like a first and second year, a lot of it was just like over my head.
It was a mixture of over my head, and then I just learned this. So it was like either I had just had a lecture over it, or it was like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So it was like, if we just went over it, I was like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Sure. I literally just learned this last week.
Why are you doing that?
And then, but yeah. And so, and then I would get more of hanging out just with for that hall with all the posters and stuff like that. So I got more just like hanging around people that I just knew, and just learning of like different opportunities that are out there. So it definitely energized me, because it just felt it felt that I was part of the bigger picture, not just like school, because I just could not do that.
Yeah, I agree. So there's a place for it. Me, I think I was just too stressed out to even be like, yeah, fuck it, I'm not giving you my time any more than I need to. It was like Saturday, Sunday was my thing where I was like, all right, let me see how little I can study this weekend, or how little I can be involved with anything physical therapy.
Yeah, and also maybe it's nothing seemed appealing to you as well. It's like, what if there was a screening for high school baseball players, like just check range of motion, things like that, and just give them some tips. I feel like you would be more tuned in, or volleyball players, just like, all right, do you have the range of motion to hit or whatever?
Yeah.
That was something like, if it's just for a weekend, you'll be like, all right, I'll do it.
And so maybe that could be a suggestion going forward. Like, hey, let's try to even talk to Sacred Heart. It's like, hey, let's try to do something each weekend that maybe appeals to one student, or appeals to like 4 or 5 students at a time.
Yeah, or like once a semester or something like that, just because it's tough planning.
Yeah.
And don't want to also burden anyone, but like give them an opportunity to do things.
So I think that would be the only suggestion I have. But I thought it was overall pretty cool. Some cool stuff. I knew I wasn't built for it at the time, but
me neither. I didn't know it at the time. I was like, it was one of those things like, hey, there's an opportunity to do this. Anyone wants to do it? I'll give it a try. Sure. Why not? Look. And then it turns into, now I'm like juggling all these things, and
8 different positions at a time.
Yeah. And then it got me how to organize my time, because I was like, oof, I can't forget. So I was just like writing notes everywhere, and kind of putting things on a Google Calendar. I even there's this app called Shift where I can put all my emails into one app, so I didn't have to like keep switching emails, and just trying to find different ways to organize.
But it sounds like it taught you some good things.
Yeah. So anything you would change about being involved?
That's a tough one. I feel like no, because I feel like I did the bare minimum to get by, and that was probably what I needed at the time. Looking at it, I at least got to live through you. So whoever you met, I met too. So I don't think the connections thing really bothered me too much. I was like, as long as you know somebody, then I'm gonna meet somebody else too. But I think it's a good thing just to explore. I think I probably, I don't know if I say regret, but if going back, I'd at least take more of a look at it. But I remember when Manny would tell me these things, I'm like, oof, even these positions just don't sound appealing, or the things that I have to do. I'm like, I don't like going into meetings however many times a month that I would need to, or however many times a week. It's like, I don't really want to do like the student board type of thing. I thought about it, but then I decided not to. So I think I just wasn't the type of person that wanted to do those stuff.
Mhm.
Maybe I wanted the benefit afterwards. That would have been the only thing. But going through it, I was like, ugh, none of this really appealed to me.
And I think just because you're on a board doesn't mean that it's going to boost whatever you got going on, like getting a job afterwards.
Yeah, and that's what I had originally thought of, and like that's my old like high school. I feel like that was a big thing, or like, I mean, not my high school, but the typical high school is like, oh, you're a class president, all that stuff. I was like, if this doesn't really help me get a job, I was like, this might just be another thing in the way of me studying. That was my thought process. Whether that was right or wrong, but
and I think it's if you go into the mindset like I'm only doing this so I can put myself in a better position, it's not going to work out. Nope. There's too much things, and I feel like you have to be actually engaged and in it to really like be effective.
And that was my thought process. I'm like, if I'm only going into it to be like, hey, this is going to set me up for a better future, I'm like, this is
and it might not, because and the biggest thing that I got, it was like, all right, now I know myself better, and now I know what things I want and I don't want. So when I'm applying somewhere, I was like, hey, this is what I've been through. Like, I can just know more about myself to kind of elaborate that. I was like, all right, is this the best fit for me? Or then also on the other side, like it could help get you a better job because now you just know more people and more places.
And that's what I thought of. It was like, if anything else, it was like, maybe I know myself, maybe I don't. After all these, I'm like, who do I know at this point? And that was the big thing. It was like, it doesn't matter what I know about myself. At some point, it's going to matter who do I know, where do I know them.
Yeah. And so someone I would advise, like if you don't want to student involvement, maybe not your thing, set up a Twitter, like go just start following physical therapists, or start following me, then shoot me a DM. I would, because right now, like
start following me, switch that real quick.
Or like, and I would, so whenever someone follows me, I was like, hey, I'm just trying to connect with more PTs. Like I do like one of those big follow trains, and I was like, all right, this is all the PTs that I like to look at their tweets and who I engage with and go from there, because like PT Twitter can be a cool place. It got a little hectic, but it's not, because like everybody's kind of talking about different things. It's not always about physical therapy. Some people are just talking sports, and so now you're connecting with other people just about sports, and then they might post something about something that they're doing. Now you feel a little bit more comfortable asking them. So it's just like a place of ideas and just different personalities just to be around. So it's a wild time. Even at work this past week, the owner Kevin Roush was like, yeah, we're working with this guy Jerry Durham, and I was like, I feel like I've heard that name before. Turns out I follow him on Twitter. Yeah, and he was saying fuck the Cowboys. I was like, all right, I like this guy, but I don't like him this week. So it's just cool. So it's just like that level of connection, and just like, oh, like who would have, like, I would never thought these people knew each other, but the PT world is smaller than you know it.
It really is. It's crazy when you think about that, because now, one person that knows another person. Even in the course that I took, in San Jose, California. This dude came from, what was it, New Canaan, Connecticut. And I was like, oh shoot, like I went to school right up there. And then he ended up knowing the people that I shadowed for, who ended up being your clinical instructors. I was like, how did, in any sense of the world, that I would have found this random, he was like 85 years old, I think. This guy was like an 85-year-old chiropractor, knew people that I shadowed under and people that you pretty much worked with for 10 weeks. So it's crazy when you look at how small the healthcare community is.
Yeah, so it's like, get out there, just connect, do your whatever it is. Like, there is a space for you. If Twitter's not your thing, follow some people on Instagram. I don't know, there's different, or get their email. Like, people are pretty receptive to emails. Like, it's okay, they'll take your time, they'll probably take their time to respond, but it's like, we're all doing things.
They're gonna hit you at some point.
Right. So that's kind of my take. Like, if you want to be involved, there's a way to dip your toes in, or just dabble in it just a little bit, see what you like, and start from there.
No, appreciate you sharing your experience, tips and tricks, how to get through life.
yeah. Look, I took the busy route, but this is whatever you make it. So
that's inspiring, truly inspiring.
That's just what I do. Yeah.
All right, but thanks for joining us another week, Patrick and Tyler. Podding with PT.
Podding with PT. Yeah, we haven't said it. Well, we got to make some t-shirts.
T-shirts, mugs.
Yeah, look, if you have any suggestions on colors, where we can get logos, anything.
Shoot. We got a logo heading soon. So
yeah, it's coming. Big things coming. But thank you for tuning in, and until next time.